The obsidian walls of the Grand Concordance Hall seemed to absorb the light, reflecting only the shimmering holographic projections that danced across their surface. The air hung thick with unspoken anxiety, a palpable pressure that settled on the shoulders of every member of the Xylar Council. Above them, the celestial map of the known galaxy pulsed with a dim, ethereal light, charting the routes of trade, the positions of allied worlds, and most ominously, the encroaching void. It was within this void that the anomaly first appeared, a flicker, a distortion, a spatial irregularity that defied all known laws of physics. Now that flicker had become a blazing conflagration, a growing stain upon the pristine fabric of reality, and the Xylar Council, guardians of 1,000 worlds, faced a crisis unlike any they had encountered in their millennia-long history. Councillor Vrax, his carapace gleaming with nervous sweat, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The rhythmic clicking of his mandibles, usually a sign of focused thought, now betrayed a simmering apprehension. He glanced at the vacant seat reserved for the Prime Executor, a position that remained unfilled ever since the unexpected events surrounding the Voridian conflict had cost the previous executor his position. "The scans remain inconclusive," he finally rasped, his voice a low tremor that echoed through the vast chamber. "The distortion is evolving. It is expanding at an alarming rate, and the energy signatures are unlike anything we have ever encountered." His gaze swept across the faces of his colleagues, seeking reassurance, but finding only mirrored anxieties. The other counselors, each representing a distinct species and societal structure within the Xylar Concordance, were a kaleidoscope of expressions: the stoic stoicism of the Krill, the volatile apprehension of the Zidonian, the calculating gaze of the Sylvani, and all the myriad emotions between. They were all united in a single, terrifying understanding. Whatever lay beyond the anomaly, whatever was traveling through the void, was heading directly towards Xylar space. Across the chamber, Councillor Lyra, a Sylvani known for her pragmatic approach, addressed the room. Her voice, a delicate chime of synthesized tones, cut through the oppressive silence. "We have exhausted all known methods of analysis. The anomaly resists all attempts at classification. Extrapolation of its trajectory suggests a point of origin beyond the established galactic borders, in a region of space that we believed was and had remained empty. It's as though something was waiting." The implication of her words hung in the air, a chilling premonition that sent a ripple of unease through the assembled council. Waiting in the vast and unforgiving darkness of interstellar space, for what? For whom? The Krill, always the most practical of the council, took their turn. Councillor Thrax, his crystalline form radiating a cold, unwavering logic, responded, "Regardless of origin, the anomaly is now a direct threat. We must prepare for the worst." A screen flickered to life before Thrax. On it, sensor readings showed the distortion gaining in energy. "Our defensive systems are at full alert, but we have no data on their capabilities. The primary directive is to defend Xylar space, even if we are facing an unknown enemy. What can be done to give us advantage?" The weight of their predicament settled upon the council. The Xylar Concordance was a civilization built on the principles of diplomacy, trade, and peaceful coexistence. Their defenses, while formidable, were designed to deter aggression, not to wage war against something they couldn't even comprehend. Their primary form of defense involved fleets of battle cruisers and defensive installations that held defensive positions and formed static defenses around important planets. Each of these defensive installations was fully automated, but they were still untested against an unknown enemy. The thought of all their carefully crafted plans and strategies being rendered useless was a prospect that sent a shiver of dread down Councillor Vrax's carapace. "Perhaps we are overreacting," offered Councillor Zidra, her voice filled with a tremor of uncertainty, a near-unheard trait for the typically combative Zidonians. "It is possible this anomaly is not hostile. Perhaps it's merely a vessel or a stray phenomenon. We should attempt communication, not immediate confrontation." Zidra's words, though laced with a hesitant hope, were met with skeptical silence. The very nature of the anomaly, its alien energy signature and its unpredictable trajectory, suggested a force beyond their comprehension, beyond their ability to reason with. Councillor Lyra turned towards the sensors again, her gaze unwavering. "The anomaly continues its trajectory. We must have some way to understand it, determine its composition. Deploying a reconnaissance squadron would be suicidal." A beat of silence hung over the chamber, heavy with deliberation. The prospect of sending a fleet of warships into the unknown, a mission from which none might return, was a somber consideration. Then a flicker on the main screen, a ripple in the fabric of the projection, and a low, guttural alert tone filled the hall. The holographic map shimmered, and a new, distinct signature, separate from the anomaly, became apparent. Incoming contact. Counselor Thrax stated, his voice now devoid of any emotion. Multiple signatures, the readings are anomalous. The room erupted into a frenzy of activity. Technicians scrambled over their consoles, desperately trying to comprehend the flood of data pouring in. On the central display, the new signatures grew, coalescing into discernible formations. Then the images resolved, not a single vessel, but a multitude, colossal constructs, unlike anything they had ever conceived of. They were vast, sprawling, and unmistakably designed for war. Counselor Vrax felt his mandibles snap shut with a sickening click. The sheer size of the vessels defied all expectations. They were a monstrosity, a nightmare made real, and they were approaching with terrifying speed. He looked at the other counselors, but their faces were now a mask of fear. They are entering our space," stammered Counselor Zidra, her voice barely a whisper. "We are not prepared for this. We cannot defeat these giants." The Krill, stoic as ever, prepared for their inevitable defense. Thrax's form shimmered as the defensive protocols took over. "Launch defense initiative. All stations prepare for combat. Inform the Prime Executor." The image on the screen grew more detailed. The vessels bore no markings, no insignia. They were sleek, angular, and radiated an aura of cold, ruthless efficiency. They were of a design language that the counselors did not understand. All attempts to establish communication yielded no results. The void that had opened and these ships that had emerged from it were completely silent. Then a new development, a single clear signal. It was simple and in a language no one could identify. It seemed musical. The counselors stared at each other, their minds reeling. It was not a call to war, not a threat, but instead a gesture, a plea, and an attempt at understanding. A single clear signal. Counselor Lyra took the lead, her synthesized voice calm but steady. "We do not understand. Transmit all known data on their composition. Translate the signal, or at least attempt to. They seem to be attempting communication." The frantic activity in the control room continued as the signal was analyzed. An attempt to translate the signal proved fruitless. Then a breakthrough. The signal wasn't a linguistic construct, but a mathematical pattern, a sequence of prime numbers, a logical sequence. It took some time to translate the pattern into a visual presentation, which produced a geometric pattern. Suddenly, the screen changed. The image shifted from the encroaching vessels to a close-up of one of the largest ships. The ship seemed to shimmer as if a veil had been lifted. It revealed not a menacing exterior, but what appeared to be a vast, intricately designed interior, a space filled with life. And then a message, clear and concise in the universal language of mathematics. "Greetings. We are Earth, you are not alone." The silence in the Grand Concordance Hall was so thick it could be cut with a blade. The implications of this message reverberated through the council like a seismic tremor. Earth, a planet they had never heard of, a civilization unknown yet possessing the technology to traverse the void. The very foundations of their understanding of the galaxy seemed to be crumbling. Counselor Vrax, regaining a semblance of composure, spoke in a low voice. "This changes everything." "What do we know about this Earth?" The very word sounded foreign on his tongue, a word that would forever alter the course of their history. The flurry of activity continued as the Xyler's best linguists and scientists began to analyze the new data stream. The Earth ships had opened a channel for communication, and the Xyler Council, despite its initial apprehension, was now ready to receive it. The Earth vessels showed no signs of aggressive intent, their movements calculated and precise. They had slowed their approach, seemingly content to remain at the edge of the Xyler's system, awaiting a response. "We have very little data, Prime Counselor," a technician announced, his voice tense. "Their transmission methods are unlike anything we have encountered. Their energy signatures are strange, but they seem to be using a language based on mathematics. We have isolated a series of symbols, a numerical code, and surprisingly, a visual representation. We are working on a translation." Lyra studied the data intently. The Earth ships were massive, but their designs lacked the aggressive angles and weapon emplacements common to warfaring vessels. Instead, they appeared to favor smooth lines, and the materials seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. They were elegant. "Perhaps we have misjudged them," she said, her voice thoughtful. "Their approach was bold, yes, but not aggressive. Their initial actions, the use of mathematical communication, it suggests a certain level of rationality. It may be that this Earth is not our enemy, but a potential ally." The Krill, as always, were the voice of caution. "We do not know their intentions. We must proceed with caution. We will begin negotiations immediately." After hours of intense analysis, a translation was achieved, and the Council received the first direct communication from the Earth vessels. The translated message was simple, direct, and startlingly human. "We come in peace. We are here to learn and to share. Not here to conquer." The message was accompanied by an image, a representation of a human. The form was fragile, almost delicate. They were bipedal with slender limbs, a large cranium, and soft skin. Their expression was calm, not the calculating calm of the Sylvani, not the stoic calm of the Krill, but a gentle, almost serene calmness. The council members exchanged glances. Their initial assumptions were shattered. Humanity, it seemed, was not a monster from the void. They were different. The Prime Executor's seat remained empty. The Xylar Council had to act as though they had the full support of their government, though the unexpected nature of humanity's arrival had made many political allies waver, even betray the Council. The weight of responsibility fell upon the remaining councillors. Vrax, Lyra, Thrax, and Zidra, they agreed to establish contact. The first stage of contact was a diplomatic overture, a request for a formal meeting. A diplomatic envoy, composed of the most seasoned Xylar diplomats, boarded a dedicated vessel and approached the largest Earth ship. The tension was palpable. The Xylar ship approached slowly, and the diplomats tried to make themselves seen, even through the ship's hull. All of the Xylar diplomats could feel the pressure build up as they approached the strange vessel. The initial encounter was nothing short of extraordinary. The envoy was greeted not with weapons or hostility, but with a holographic projection of a human speaking the translated words in the Xylar's language. The image was remarkably realistic, and the voice was calm, reassuring. "Welcome," the human said. "We are the crew of the Dauntless Asterisk. We welcome your visit. We hope to build a bridge of understanding between our civilizations." The Xylar diplomats, stunned by the openness and calm of the greeting, entered the vast interior of the Earth. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The ship was vast, filled with open spaces, soft lighting, and a surprising lack of sharp angles or aggressive weaponry. The air was clean, and there was a subtle scent of life. The design was all smooth, with curved surfaces. Every part of the design was made for function and not to instill fear. They were greeted by humans. The humans stood at attention, waiting to receive the Xylar delegation. The humans were approachable. They were not clad in armor or weapons. Their uniforms were practical, and their expressions were open and friendly. They were polite and clearly were excited to have the Xylar delegation on board. They led the Xylar delegation to a large meeting room. The meeting room was dominated by a large, circular table, surrounded by comfortable chairs. As the Xylar diplomats took their seats, the human from the holographic projection, now in person, stepped forward. "My name is Captain Eva Rostova," the human said, her voice clear and strong. "We are honored to have you aboard." The Xylar delegation looked towards the captain. There was no sign of aggression. Captain Rostova was calm. Her eyes revealed no hidden hostility, no fear, and yet she was clearly in charge. The dialogue began, and the humans' knowledge of intergalactic matters surprised the Xylar delegation. They revealed that they came from a planet called Earth, located in a galaxy unknown to the Xylar. They were advanced in many ways, but they were open to learning. "We understand that your civilization is cautious," Captain Rostova said, her voice laced with empathy. "We understand that we have appeared unexpectedly, but we come in peace. We offer our knowledge, our technology, and our friendship. We only ask for the chance to learn from you, to understand your culture, and to build a future together." The Xylar diplomats were intrigued. It was clear that the humans possessed a level of technological advancement that rivaled, and perhaps surpassed, their own. They had mastered interstellar travel, communication across vast distances, and displayed a level of scientific knowledge that was both impressive and, at times, bewildering. The humans provided data, examples of their technology, and allowed the Xylar delegation to view their ship. The Xylar delegates were impressed. The days passed in a flurry of activity as the two civilizations began to exchange information. The humans shared their knowledge of engineering, medicine, and philosophy. They showed the Xylar how to construct ships with incredible capabilities and how to improve their infrastructure. The Xylar, in turn, shared their understanding of the galaxy, the history of their alliance, and their knowledge of the other races within the Concordance. They showed the humans the history of their conflicts and the treaties and peace agreements they had made. However, the Xylar diplomats, while impressed, remained cautious. They knew the history of their own conflicts and the treachery that can occur even between allies. They knew of the warmongering races that existed in the galaxy. And they wondered, what was Earth's true intent? Did Earth seek to conquer, or were they truly willing to cooperate? The Xylar Council had many questions, and Captain Rostova answered them all. She revealed that Earth was a society built on the principles of reason and ethics. They had eradicated war from their world generations ago. They saw the stars not as a target of conquest, but as an opportunity for expansion and for mutual understanding. "We do not seek to dominate," Captain Rostova explained. "We seek to understand. We believe that cooperation, not conflict, is the key to our survival and prosperity. We have seen what conflict can do, and we have sworn to never make the same mistakes again. The humans showed them their technology. They revealed incredible innovations. They showed the Xylar delegates technology that allowed the instantaneous communication across the galaxy, faster than any technology the Xylar had. They also revealed advanced medical technology. They showed how diseases could be eradicated and how injuries could be healed in days. The humans showed the Xylar a technology of destruction, capable of destroying entire planets. They showed the Xylar their weapons, their defensive systems, and the ability to wipe out their enemies. However, they made it clear that they would never be used offensively. The Xylar Council began to realize the truth. Earth was indeed an advanced civilization. Not only were they not a threat, but they were also a potential ally. Humans provided a demonstration of one of their most impressive technologies, a technology they called a dreadnought. This dreadnought was a warship of incredible size, capable of withstanding attacks from entire fleets. Its defenses were impenetrable, its weapons terrifying, and its crew were experts in their field. The demonstration was meant to show the Xylar Council the power they held, but more importantly, to show them that this power came with responsibility. The demonstration was overwhelming. The dreadnought unleashed its weaponry on a remote planetoid, and the planetoid was atomized in seconds. The Xylar delegation was stunned. Their jaws dropped as they saw how easily the planetoid was destroyed. Even Thrax, the unflappable krill, was visibly shaken. "This is incredible," he said, his voice a low hum. "The power you possess, it is unlike anything we have ever seen." "We do not use this technology lightly," Captain Rostova said. "This technology is meant to be used for the preservation of peace. We have seen what war can do, and we will do everything in our power to avoid it." The humans then revealed their strategy. They explained that they had been monitoring the Xylar Concordance for decades, gathering intelligence, learning about their culture, and trying to understand their way of life. They knew of the internal conflicts within the Xylar Concordance and were prepared to provide assistance. The Xylar Council was shocked. They hadn't realized that the humans had been watching them for so long. "We have been observing your civilization for some time," Captain Rostova explained. "We have seen your strengths, your weaknesses, and your potential. We know of the forces that threaten you. We understand the value of unity, and we believe that the Xylar Concordance and Earth can be a powerful force for good in the galaxy." The humans offered their assistance. They offered their technology, their intelligence, and their friendship. They offered a path towards a future of peace, prosperity, and understanding. The offer was too good to refuse. The Xylar Council voted to form an alliance with Earth. The alliance was sealed with a formal treaty, a ceremony where the Xylar and the humans joined together. The treaty established a mutual defense pact, an agreement to share knowledge and technology, and a commitment to work together towards the common good. The alliance with Earth brought a new era of prosperity to the Xylar Concordance. The humans shared their technology and knowledge, helping to modernize their infrastructure, improve their defenses, and improve their understanding of the galaxy. The Xylar, in turn, shared their knowledge of the Concordance and helped the humans navigate the complexities of galactic politics. However, even as the alliance between Earth and the Xylar flourished, a shadow was beginning to fall upon the galaxy. The ancient anomaly remained a threat, and its origins and purpose remained unknown. The humans and the Xylar continued to monitor its movements, but the closer the anomaly got, the more anxious they became. One day, the anomaly reached the borders of Xylar space, and the Xylar Council, in conjunction with the humans, attempted to confront it. A combined fleet of Xylar and Earth ships approached the anomaly, preparing to engage in combat. The Xylar ships were powerful, their crews seasoned, and their technology advanced. But the Earth vessels were a force beyond measure. The dreadnoughts and the other ships possessed capabilities the Xylar had never imagined. As the ships drew near, they detected a new signal emerging from the anomaly, a signal that was neither a threat nor an attack. Instead, it was a message. The message was of unknown origin, and it took days to understand. After the Xylar, with the help of the humans, worked to decipher the signal, they discovered the truth. The message came from an ancient, long-dead civilization, a civilization that had collapsed in on itself. This was a civilization that had risen and fallen over time, a civilization that had mastered technology but had destroyed itself. They had built a massive interstellar network, an interstellar highway, and they sought to warn any potential new civilizations. The message contained a warning: their network had failed. The anomaly was not a portal, but a beacon, a broken signal that had been active for eons. It had been drawing in the attention of others, but it could only provide a single message. The beacon was a warning about the network. The meaning behind the signal was clear. The advanced technology that the ancient civilization had created had destroyed it. They had relied on technology, and it had consumed them. The message was a warning to others. Do not rely on technology. Do not become consumed. The implications were staggering. The ancient civilization's network was far more vast than any of the species had imagined. It extended across the galaxy and even beyond to other universes. If the network were to fail, if the beacon were to disappear, the consequences would be unimaginable. The Xyler and the humans, now allies, were bound together by something far more meaningful than shared technology or military might. They were bound by the shared understanding of the universe and the knowledge of their shared destiny. With humanity's guidance, they began the work of repairing the damage, rebuilding the network, and safeguarding the future. The end of the story reveals a massive twist. With the combined strength of Earth and the Xyler Concordance, and with the help of new allies, they were able to fix the network. They were able to use the network to travel vast distances. As they traveled, they were able to learn a secret from the ancient civilization, that there was something larger, something even more profound at the very edge of the universe. And so, the journey began.